Well, this week, the Australian Financial Review published a frankly disgusting cartoon which depicted no voters as Nazis. AFR Cartoonist David Rowe painted little Hitler moustaches on blank-faced no voters on signs. Warren Mundine, Jacinta Nampijimpa Price and Peter Dutton are all standing there seemingly completely okay with Nazis all around them. And Rowe thought he was so clever, tweeting it out with the words, "The standards we walk by." Now that, of course, is a reference to the saying, the standard you walk past is the one you accept. Now, we've spoken on this show tonight about how the Yes campaign is cannibalising itself by pushing these extreme labels onto the average voter. Now, there are some vile people out there who call themselves modern-day Nazis, and they should be condemned at every opportunity. But that is not the average no voter. Surely that's the one thing that we can all agree on. And then to suggest that two prominent Indigenous Australians are okay with Nazis is just ludicrous. Does anyone seriously think Price should be compared to a Nazi or associated with a Nazi in any way? Is that what the AFR thinks is funny or clever? Now, if you want to know why voters are rejecting The Voice, it's because of stunts like this. Now, James, I was actually surprised that this cartoon hadn't become a bigger point of outrage. The way that those two Indigenous leaders were drawn, I think, was problematic. And the messaging that they are somehow okay with Nazis, to me, it's an abhorrent line that we shouldn't be pushing.
Yeah, well, it's day of the cartoon, so the outrage is starting to take off, and it'll be interesting to see how it develops. But what I've got to say is, in stories like this, when someone tells you who they are, you need to believe them, all right? Because let me sort of predict what the next couple of days are going to be. There's going to be the AFR coming out and saying like, oh, we don't actually think that no voters are Nazis, and we made a bad editorial decision during this cartoon, and that's obviously not the view of the cartoonist. Don't believe it, all right? They hit publish. The cartoon was drawn, then it was published, then it was put online. It's still up. This is so many deliberate actions have been taken in a very short amount of time for us to start to accept any sort of apology that this isn't how they think. This is what those people in the AFR think of no voters. It's disgusting.
Yeah, and I mean, the other point to make as well is it's clearly lowering the discourse to a point. We all know that Jacinta Price is not a fan of Nazis. I mean, that's so clear. So why take us there? Yeah. Have there been any other interesting cartoons that you can think of?
I didn't really know this guy, David Rowe. So when I'm looking at the cartoon, I see in the top right corner, there's a thing called the Best of David Rowe. And I thought, interesting, okay, maybe this is just a bad egg. So I had a click, and I think we've got some of the cartoons that have been deemed his best of. They're all within the 1 week of August 2020. So the pinnacle of his
that's
comedic stuff. I mean, real whip snorters. I don't know who this person is, so if anyone wants to fill me in, great. But look, if your best of cartoons haven't been updated in 3 years and they're not good, I'd probably focus on being a bit better at being a cartoonist than going around calling people who vote no a Nazi. That would be my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fine line because I love them to have the freedom to be provocative. I do think that crossed a line personally.